back to learning at VS for Leaders. As we reach the final instalment in this month's series on self-leadership, let's just take a moment to see how far we've come. At the start of the year, we explored the importance of self-leadership and recognising that good self-leadership is instrumental in leading others well. We then examined our values and spent some time exploring those things that are important to us so that when those values are challenged, when we're under pressure for example, we can remain grounded and lead through the lens of those values. And last week we took some time to talk through self-awareness and utilise the Johari window as a means to develop self-awareness through feedback and sharing. As we land this series, we're going to talk about something really practical and straightforward and deeply linked to self-leadership, and that's the skill of goal setting. Goal setting isn't just about ticking boxes or annual performance plans. It's about creating direction, purpose and focus in a way that honours who we are, what matters to us, and how we lead ourselves every day. Many of us will be familiar with setting goals in our work life that might be linked with our performance reviews and linked to what the team and the organisation are trying to achieve. But actually having goals in our personal life, be they career, educational, therapeutic, are, when done well, equally powerful. Getting the goal right, however, can be tricky. A poorly thought through goal or a poorly timed goal can result in frustration and the perception of failure. However, a good goal invariably inspires and energises us as we move towards achieving it. It can improve our performance, focus us, increases well-being, and can heighten our enjoyment of the tasks involved with its achievement. One of the most useful frameworks for understanding effective goal setting comes from the work of Edwin Locke and Gary Latham, two researchers who studied what makes goals more likely to lead to meaningful effort and satisfaction. Their research suggests that how we frame our goals has a big influence on our motivation, our persistence, and ultimately whether we feel progress and growth. So let's explore the 5 key principles from their theory, not as rigid rules, but as helpful touch points for thinking about how you want to set goals for yourself and in your leadership. The first principle is about clarity, being specific about what you're aiming for. Goals need to be specific and clearly defined so there can be no room for misunderstandings. They should be explicit so that the desired end result is clear to anyone involved, and consider how success will be measured. So, a goal like, I want to be better at supporting my team, is vague. We have no idea of how that will be measured. However, I will have weekly one-to-one check-in conversations with my team members for the next 3 months, focusing on well-being as well as tasks. In this goal, there's clarity. It gives us direction. It makes the goal feel real, not just a vague aspiration. And when we can see the path ahead, we can actually plan and act. And using the traditional SMART goal principles can really help with this. The second principle is that a goal should be challenging. It should be stretching us beyond comfort. Setting a challenging goal requires the right balance to get the right level of challenge for you, or your team if you're working with them to set goals. If they're easy or they're too challenging, it will have a negative impact, resulting in low motivation and decreased performance. When a goal puts you firmly in the stretch zone so that it feels achievable, with perhaps a little discomfort because we've moved out of our comfort zone, we've likely hit the spot. From a self-leadership perspective, a challenging goal invites you to step a little beyond your comfort zone in order to grow, rather than shrinking away or overreaching and burning out. The third principle is commitment. This is about goals that matter to you. Goals set because someone tells you it's a good idea or because they look good on paper rarely stick. For goals to propel us forward, we need to own them. That means connecting them to something that matters. Something aligned with your values, your purpose, or your sense of contribution. Hopefully it's making sense now while we looked at our values a couple of weeks ago. Knowing what we value and what's important to us means that we can do the thinking to ensure that our goals align with what's important to us and what we want to achieve. Part of self-leadership is asking yourself questions such as, Is this goal meaningful to me? Does it align with what matters most right now? How does this goal connect with my purpose? And how will I feel when I achieve it? The fourth principle is feedback. So this is about noticing progress and adjusting. And feedback can be both internal and external. Feedback's our compass. It tells us whether we're on the right track, whether we need to adjust, or whether we need to rethink our approach. Sometimes that feedback comes from others, perhaps from a supervisor, a peer, or a team member. Other times it comes from within, a sense of energy or depletion, confidence or doubt. Regularly checking in with yourself and others lets you tune your effort and maintain alignment with your deeper intentions. Feedback might also mean that we need to adjust the goal, and that's fine. Listening to external feedback from someone we trust, or listening intuitively to how we're responding and adjusting accordingly, requires strength and courage and should never be seen as failure or weakness. And finally, task complexity. So this is about breaking down big goals. The reality is some goals are inherently complex. In those cases, breaking them down into manageable pieces helps keep motivation high and momentum going. Instead of one giant leap, successful goal setting often looks like small steps repeated consistently over time. Ensuring we get timescales right is important too. So when we're setting deadlines for ourselves or for others, the complexity of the tasks involved in achieving that goal need to be considered to make sure that we're avoiding overwhelm and ensuring that we're staying engaged. Especially important in emotionally demanding work like ours. So if we bring these stages together, clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and complexity, we have a set of principles that can really help make our goals more alive, more actionable, and more aligned with who we are and what matters in our work. In addition to this, once you have your goals, research shows that writing them down increases your chances of achieving them by 50%. And motivational experts even suggest carrying them around with you. Sharing your goals with someone you trust also substantially increases your chance of achieving the goal. But the heart of all this isn't a checklist, it's intentionality. As you think about goals in your own leadership or personal development, you might ask yourself, what's one specific outcome I want to focus on in the next few months? Does this goal stretch me in a healthy way? Why does it matter to me, and how does it connect to my values? What will count as progress, and how will I know? What smaller steps can I plan to make this goal feel manageable? You don't need perfect answers today, just curiosity, clarity, and a willingness to reflect. So whether you're setting goals for your own self-leadership, planning a team's development, or reflecting on what matters next in your role, remember, goals are most powerful when they're clear, purposeful, and rooted in what matters to you most. Thanks for taking time to listen to today's podcast and for engaging with this month's theme of self-leadership. Next week, we'll embark on a new theme around the topic of psychological safety and everyday courage, where we'll hear from some key thought leaders in this area and take some time to consider their work and what it means for us as leaders.